Staying on the story, we joined in studio by Sifiso Dladla, Mining and Extractives Project Manager at ActionAid South Africa. Thank you so much for joining us. Good evening to you. Really a tragic incident that occurred here today. 4 mine workers have lost their lives and some are still unaccounted for. Of course, the unions are spitting fire on this one. They're saying that the Mineral Resources Department has to be held accountable. What role does government have in this scenario?
Good evening, Paul, and good evening, Pume. Good evening to your viewers as well. Look, it is government that issues mining licenses, and it's government that should ensure that they regulate the industry properly as the regulator. So if things like this keep on happening, and it shows that we are pushing profits before the lives of people. And it's the same mining company that not long ago, I think it was in February, in Beatrix in the Free State, that more than 1,000 workers were trapped and nothing ever happened to it. So if government keeps leaving these things to be going on like this without all the stones unturned, then it means that we are not doing enough to ensure that we protect the workers.
And if we look at this on a social platform, we know that behind all of this, at some mines, there are zamazamas. And the so-called zamazamas are often foreign nationals who are desperately seeking to earn a sense of a living.
Look, Paul, the history of mining in South Africa has always had and always promoted people crossing the borders to look for food to put on their tables. So now, if it's going to be only now that we are questioning their originality, it means it's disingenuous. So, I mean, one of the things that we've been, as civil society, especially ActionAid South Africa, we've been saying to government, decriminalize zamazamas, formulate them and regulate them. And we've been working for the past year with the Northern Cape government. And on Monday, the Deputy Minister issued the zamazamas in Kimberley, led by Lucky Sekoe, a mining permit. So they've been saying that we cannot be issuing mining permits to the zamazamas simply because of the issue of safety. This year alone, in the gold sector, today we are in the 5th month of the year, and already we've lost 7 lives. It means more than 1 life a month, which is too much.
And of course, you're not the only ones. The unions are also expressing a lot of anger here. And, you know, in terms of looking at Sibanye-Stillwater on its own, that is not a first incident. What sort of safety measures need to be in place for incidents like this not to occur?
You see, each industry should grow with technology. Right now, I've been seeing some live visuals saying that 2 of the miners have been trapped. Of course, we've got to make use of the technology at times like this. I mean, for example, if each mine worker that has to go down would have safety boots that would have maybe something like a GPS that would locate each and every person, then it would be easier to account for everyone. But then because we will not invest in technology simply because they'll be using money to do that, of which that is what mining companies are looking for, is to make maximum profit at the cost of the lives of the people. And remember, these are not only workers, they are fathers, they are brothers, they are sisters to their families. So what will happen to their families if these people are not found? What happened in 2016 in Lily Mine? Today still, we are not hearing anything from government to say what happened to the 3 workers.
I mean, you speak about technology being a huge factor here that could make large strides in making sure that the process is faster. This afternoon, 2 tremors were felt in that area. And one of the biggest obstacles that rescue missions are saying is that the huge rocks are prohibiting this mission from continuing. Irrespective of the technology, if the obstacles are there, what needs to be done then?
Look, the obstacles are only there because lives are there. But those are not seen as obstacles if it's an opportunity for them to mine and extract the minerals. So let's not talk about it now.
So in terms of what should really be, what sort of measures do you think now need to aggressively be pushed in place? Because we can speak all we like, but the incidents are happening and happening on a regular basis.
Before a mining license is issued, then an inspection has to be undertaken. If not, then the department's engineers and all of the people who have the necessary skills should be going down there and ensuring that it's safe for human beings to go down.
Let's now get some live visuals there where we cross to our reporter who's on the ground at Sibanye Stillwater to get some sort of feedback. Tsiamo, good afternoon, good evening to you. You've been there monitoring the story as it develops and progresses. We understand that the Mineral Resources Minister, Gwede Mantashe, is expected to be there to give some sort of address. What are the latest developments as we speak?
Greetings to you and to the viewers at home. Taking over from Miponi, that was the reporter earlier today, she literally just told us in the evening that there are 3 people that were not yet rescued, and right now what we've just seen with James and the ground, what we actually experienced is that James is saying that he's going to the mining thingy so that he can be able to identify or understand what's going on. But also what we've heard that there is about 2 people that have been located, or around 1 that has been located, but the condition is not really known. And as to now, we've just been waiting for Gwede Mantashe, and we're actually expecting him in around 30 minutes or an hour. And that's basically what we are trying to understand as well, that what is actually going on, how are the positions in the ground, and how are people actually trying to also get around the situation while there has been a systemic event earlier today.
Now, we know that this afternoon already there was a tremor that was felt within that area. Talk us through the sort of impact it had on rescue operations there.
Earlier on, there were actually reports that they had to actually stop so that they can actually assess the condition and how actually it has damaged the process that they were going through. But right now, I think that they had continued to also try and identify. That's why I'm saying that there might have been 2 people that actually were located, but the condition is currently unknown. But I don't think that the conditions would actually really be so much of an impact, rather, or let me say that they are at this point in time not that critical, or maybe we might actually just have to wait for the spokesperson to actually tell us what the conditions are.
And lastly, Tsiamo, before we let you go, have you at all been seeing family members coming to the mine to try and find out if their loved ones may be among those still trapped underground?
Reports have actually been said that I heard from other news reporters that the families have actually been taken to the shaft to actually try and also be there when they come out, and if they do come out today. Basically what we're trying to also understand is how they're feeling and the emotions that are actually going through to them at the moment. But I think the support system that has been put in place is that they are expecting to have them today.
Thank you so much for that update. Our reporter there, Afro Worldview reporter Tsiamo Mwatapadi, who is out on the ground monitoring the story as it develops. Of course, we will continue to get updates from her. I'm coming back to you, Sfiso. The Minister, Gwede Mantashe, is expected to come there and give some sort of address. What, in your view, do you think that his position should be in this matter?
First and foremost, that mine should be hit where it hurts the most, which is closing down until they get their act together. Many lives have been lost in their name, and if they continue making profits and business as usual, they won't feel a thing, you know. We are talking about lives, and lives will continue to be lost whilst they keep on making maximum profit. So it's about time that the regulator plays their vociferous role in ensuring that everything stops.
Besides factors like technology being roped in here to ensure that matters like this and tragic incidents like this don't occur, what do you think the mine would have to do to guarantee the safety of workers?
They know the technologies, they know what they're mining, they know the deepness of their shaft, then I think they would be the best to answer to that question, because I've never been down that shaft for me to be able to speak about it.
And I mean, you mentioned the social impact here. You spoke about fathers who have come from far away to merely earn a living for their families here. What do you think, in your view, needs to happen to advance mining in South Africa?
There shouldn't be any advancement of mining in South Africa. The only thing that should be done is, if communities are saying they want mining, then they must be given that opportunity, and they must be told of the positives and the negatives. And those that say they want mining simply because they are going to get jobs, I'm sure they're seeing what is happening. For example, the Xolobeni case that's happening, they've asked the court, the Pretoria High Court, for a declarator to say that we have the right to say no to mining. So if things like this have social impact one way or the other, and can you imagine in the barracks today or tonight, should these workers not come back home? They have responsibilities in their families. Who will answer? Because even you guys in the media do not do follow-ups. Let's say those who were trapped, the four that were trapped, how will we know whether they've been compensated? How long did it take for compensation? What was the family eating during the time when the compensation was still being put together? So it's things like that.
That's a really valid point. I want to rope in mining expert David van Wyk into our conversation. David, welcome to you. Good evening. My expert here,
thank you very much.
Sfiso Dladla, was talking about mining companies putting profits before lives. What is your analysis of this?
Well, I think that Sibanye has retrenched thousands of workers in 2017. And it's interesting that in 2018, we have now had accidents 3 times in February, and now in March again, and several workers have died. They are responsible for about 30% of mine accidents so far this year. And this is a company which is retrenching workers because it's saying that it does not have money to pay them, yet at the same time it's on a buying spree. It bought Rustenburg Platinum from... It's poised to buy Lonmin from the Lonmin Marikana operations. There are rumors that it wants to buy DRD Gold, yet it's retrenching workers. Now, when workers are retrenched, it means fewer workers have to do more work, and this then compromises workplace safety. So this is a huge, big problem as far as we are concerned. You cannot plead poverty and retrench workers while at the same time making huge acquisitions everywhere. Apart from this mining company, like all other mining companies, pay productivity bonuses to workers. This causes workers to actually work in unsafe conditions, and when health and safety team members tell other workers not to work because a workplace is unsafe, they then report that worker to the management as hampering productivity. There should actually be safety bonuses instead of productivity bonuses in these mines, and the government should really intervene when a company has billions to purchase other mining operations but cannot pay its own labor and sustain a labor force that can actually maintain so safe operations. Apart from that, TauTona mine just next door, which is Anglo Gold Ashanti's mine, is deeper than this mine that is being operated by Sibanye. Yet we haven't seen the same number of accidents in that mine. Sibanye is really, in order to purchase all these operations that it's buying in its buying spree, is compromising on worker safety and spending on safety and health in its operations.
And what sort of role do you believe that government can aggressively exert here? Because it seems rather clear that profits may be a bigger agenda.
Well, I think that the Department of Mineral Resources really needs to intervene in mining, but I really think also that government and the ruling party in this country are so compromised by the collusion between senior members of the ruling party and the mining industry, that the Department of Mineral Resources is incapable of doing the job that it's doing. It's both referee and player as far as the mining industry is concerned.
So are you saying that at this point in time, there's not much that Mineral Resources Minister Gwede Mantashe can do when he addresses the media this evening, in terms of bringing some sort of resolution to this?
Well, he should act as the referee that he is appointed to be, you know. The Minister of Mining is supposed to be the referee between labor and mining, and between mining and communities. And the referee should take out a red card when it's necessary to take out a red card and send offending players off the field. You know, I really think that our government has forgotten that the role of government is actually to regulate and to legislate. And the role of law, to respect government, to respect labor, and to respect communities. That is the foundations of the Raji principles of good corporate governance in the world today.
Would you say, David, that perhaps the government may be caught between a rock and a hard place here, because officials have been punting and aggressively speaking about advancing the economy, and if some really scrutinized measures need to be taking place here, what impact would it have on jobs?
Well, if they want to really grow the economy as far as mining is concerned, perhaps they should clamp down on invoice fraud and tax evasion and, you know, the kind of shenanigans the mining industry gets up to avoid paying taxes in this country. You know, there are several reports, including reports by the United Nations, that suggest that our country is being plundered as far as our resources are concerned, and the taxes that big corporations are not paying that they should be paying.
And let's go into the expertise of the actual mine itself. When it comes to the situation that we're currently faced with, there are men underground as we speak that are unaccounted for. What do you believe here are the biggest challenges? My guest in studio, Sifiso Dladla, has mentioned that technology would be a huge element here to boost, to rather curb such accidents occurring on such a regular basis?
Well, I think that, first of all, we must recognize that seismicity is in fact caused by mining, because dormant faults underground are reactivated by mining, such as the Dagbreek fault in 1994 led to the collapse of a block of flats there, you know, when an earthquake occurred. In 2010, we had a major earthquake that actually cracked up and shook buildings all the way from Potchefstroom through to Pretoria as a result of mining-induced seismicity. Now, the fact of the matter is that some of those mines are very, very deep, and they are no longer safe for workers to operate in. But the bosses won't actually use technology, because technology is very expensive. And when the rocks fall, they fall on the technology, and the technology will be broken. The other problem is that South African mines have been designed for cheap labor. So the circumference of a shaft is too narrow to take equipment down. So big machines that could do the work of workers underground would have to be dismantled and then reassembled underground to get into the spaces where the workers are. And then when we look at the reef in South Africa, the reef is not always broad enough or wide enough for big machines to actually extract the gold in the same manner as what workers are able to do. You know, so at a certain point, we need to basically say this mine is too deep or too dangerous for it to continue operating. But Sibanye would do well to look at what, you know, Anglo Gold Ashanti is doing right next door at the ultra-deep, have the same levels of fatalities.
Thank you so much for your expertise. David van Wyk, a mining expert there, joining us via Skype. Let's wrap things up with you, Mr. Dladla. Van Wyk spoke about government's role, government having to play referee in this matter. And in a few minutes, this evening already, we're expecting the Mineral Resources Minister to say something. What in your view, do you think that the impact of more stringent measures will have on the three players that are currently just circulating around this matter?
Paul, there's nothing much that the minister that will say that's new to our ears, because of exactly what David has been talking about. The compromise position is on, and he's compelled by society to be saying something, because he cannot remain silent when such a tragedy has taken place. So whether he says anything or he doesn't say anything, what we are looking for are the results. As I said, I still maintain that Sibanye Stillwater has to be shut down until everything is safe. Otherwise, if it go on like that, then government would be selling the lives of its own people for profits.
Do you think that this, in terms of a business retrospect, could be a case of greed versus sustainability?
That's what mining is all about. It's all about cheap labor. It's all about extracting as much as you can, paying less. The only time a mine worker is important to the mine owner is when they are making their way to work and going down the shaft. What happens down the shaft, they don't care. All they care about are the extractives. Coming up is their own problem.
Thank you so much for your time and for sharing your expertise there. Wrapping up there with my guest, Sifiso Dladla, as well as David van Wyk, a mining expert who was with us a short while ago.